Max and Min were looking a little worried when their mum found them quietly sitting at their desk. "What's up, kids?" she said. "You're looking a fraction nervous." "Great choice of words, Mum," replied Min. "We are nervous. About fractions. We have an important test on fractions tomorrow, and we don't know how well we'll go." Their mum smiled. "My old Nana used to say that the best way to approach a test is to be well prepared. That way you won't be nervous and you'll do well. Would you like me to help you prepare?" "That would be great, Mum, thanks," said a very relieved Max. Their mum continued, "I always found the best way or strategy to prepare for a test is to carefully go through the work you need to know, making sure you understand each part, getting help if necessary, and writing notes to summarize the work as you go through it. Then all you have to do before a test to prepare is go over your notes a few times." "Okay, let's get started. We'll write some notes as we go." So the twins got out a notebook and started to write these notes. When a number or an object or a group of objects is divided into equal parts, each part is an equal fraction of the original thing or group. In video 1.4.2, we looked at dividing things into halves, including a $30 birthday present, which was $15 each. In video 2.4.1, we divided a cake into halves to see that there are two halves in one whole, that is, two halves equal 1, then divided it into quarters to see that 4 quarters equal 1, and then divided it into eighths to see that 8 eighths equal 1. We noted that the bigger the number on the bottom of the fraction, the smaller the piece, that is, the smaller the fraction. In video 3.4.1, we learnt that the bottom number of a fraction is called the denominator, and the top number is the numerator. The denominator tells you the total number of equal parts the whole object is being divided into. The numerator tells you how many of the parts are in this fraction. So, 3/5 of a pizza means 3 slices of a pizza that has been divided into 5 equal slices. In video 3.4.2, we drew a number line to see how fractions and mixed numerals are positioned between whole numbers. A mixed numeral is a whole number and a fraction together, such as 1 3/4 or 2 1/2. Equivalent fractions, which we looked at in video 4.4.1, are fractions that have the same value. If we cut up 3 pies into 2, 4, and 8 equal pieces, we can easily see that 1/2, 2/4, and 4/8 are all the same amount of pie. So 1/2, 2/4, and 4/8 are equivalent fractions. You can start with any fraction, then multiply its numerator and denominator, that is, top and bottom, by the same number, and you will get equivalent fractions. For example, 1/3 times 2, top and bottom, will give you 2/6, or times it by 3 to get 3/9, or times it by 4 to get 4/12. We could go on forever getting equivalent fractions this way. And, their mum added, if we start with a fraction with numbers big enough to divide into, we can often simplify the fraction. That is, get an equivalent fraction with smaller numbers by dividing top and bottom by the same number. For example, kids, if we start with 6/24, what same number can we divide by top and bottom? Well, Mum, replied Min, 3 is a common factor of 6 and 24. In other words, 3 will divide into 6 and 24. So if we divide top and bottom by 3, we will get 2/8, a more simple fraction. And, chimed in Max, we can then divide 2/8 top and bottom by 2 to get 1/4, which would be 6/24 in its simplest form. That's correct. If we simplify a fraction as far as we can, we'll get the fraction in its simplest form. Great work, kids. Min continued, so that must mean two fractions cannot be equivalent if we cannot divide one by the same number, top and bottom, to make the other. For example, 8/12 cannot be equivalent to 3/4 because we can divide 12 by 3 to get 4 in the denominator. However, we cannot divide 8 by 3 to get 3 in the numerator. This symbol means does not equal. In video 5.4.1, the twins learnt that a fraction with a numerator smaller than its denominator is called a proper fraction, while a fraction with a bigger numerator is called an improper fraction. In that video, they used a number line to help them put proper fractions, mixed numbers, and improper fractions in order from smallest to biggest. On a number line, the bigger the number, the further to the right of 0 it is. Whether we use a number line or not, it is usually easier to order numbers if they all have the same denominator. For example, if we were asked to order the numbers 3/5, 13/10, 1 1/10, 4/5, and 7/10, it would make the task easier if all the numbers had a denominator of 10. So therefore, 3/5 becomes 6/10, 4/5 becomes 8/10, and we should also write 1 1/10 as 11/10. And so the order is 6/10, 7/10, 8/10, 11/10, and 13/10. Making all the denominators the same will also make adding and subtracting fractions and mixed numerals much easier. This might sound a bit strange, but adding fractions with the same denominator is like adding apples together. 2 apples plus 5 apples plus 3 apples equals 10 apples. You cannot include oranges in the addition if you want to add apples. In a similar way, fractions need the same denominator to be added together. 2/12 plus 5/12 plus 3/12 equals 10/12. We cannot put fifths or thirds into that addition. It would be like trying to add oranges with apples. So to add fractions with all the same denominator, we just add the numerators and keep the same denominator. Another example. To add 1/10 plus 2/5 plus 1 3/10, we change the 2/5 to 4/10 to make all the denominators the same. Change the mixed numeral 1 3/10 to 13/10 and get 1/10 plus 4/10 plus 13/10. Only then can we add the numerators and keep the same denominator. The answer, 18/10, is an improper fraction, so we would usually write it as a mixed numeral, 1 8/10, which equals 1 4/5. When subtracting, we do the same steps, but of course, this time, subtracting the numerators. For example, to subtract 5/6 from 1 1/3, we first need to write the mixed numeral as an improper fraction, that is 4/3, then write it as 8/6 to make the denominators the same. Then we can subtract the numerators and keep the same denominator to get the answer 3/6, which we should simplify to 1/2. So kids, how are you feeling about this preparation session? The twins' mum suddenly said. Is it time well spent? Absolutely, Max and Min exclaimed at the same time. Max continued, it's a great idea to take notes. We are understanding fractions better, and writing the main points down is helping us to remember everything. And now there are only 2 more things we have to cover. Firstly, the multiplication of a fraction by a whole number, for example, 4 times 3/10. To find 4 times, or 4 lots of, 3/10, we could just write 3/10 plus 3/10 plus 3/10 plus 3/10, which equals 12/10. This method is okay for a small multiplication like this, but a much quicker method, especially for bigger multiplications, would be to multiply the numerator 3 by the 4 to get 12 as the new numerator and keep the denominator unchanged to get 12/10. Let's try another example, 6 times 2/5. We can use the slow method, 2/5 plus 2/5 plus 2/5 plus 2/5 plus 2/5 plus 2/5, which equals 12/5. Or we can just multiply the numerator 2 by 6 to get the same answer, 12/5. So, to multiply a fraction by a number, just multiply the numerator and put the new numerator over the unchanged denominator. Finally, finding a fraction of a number or group of things. If we wanted to eat 1/5 of a pizza, we would have to divide the pizza by 5 to get 5 equal slices. So to calculate, for example, 1/5 of 35, We do exactly the same. We divide the 35 by 5 and the answer is 7. Since from our multiplication tables we know that 7 times 5 equals 35. Another example could be to calculate 1/6 of 24 by dividing 24 by 6 to get an answer of 4. What if the calculation was 3/5 of 35? Well, just above, we already worked out that 1/5 of 35 equals 7. So then 3/5 of 35 must equal 3 times 7, which equals 21. And also from above, if 1/6 of 24 equals 4, then 5/6 of 24 must equal 5 times 4, which equals 20. Well, Mum, that's all the fractions information we need to know for the test tomorrow, said Min. All Max and I need to do before the test is go over these great notes a few times. Thanks so much for your help. We can definitely now say we are no longer a fraction nervous. If you haven't already, you should develop a strategy for learning and remembering new work at school and home. Now you can watch this video again or try the quiz and look at the chart that comes with this video.